Hello and welcome back to the Joyful Soul Creates. Charlotte here, and today I'm sharing a clean and simple mixed media card, and I made this card for the challenge at the mailroom that starts today. Our challenge theme is Surfs Up, and I decided to make a watery kind of abstract background for my card. So to start with, I'm going to do some Distress Oxide ink blending. I'm going in from the bottom right hand corner of my card base with a tumbled glass, and I'm going to cover maybe a third of the card. And as I'm going across, I'm fading out to white, which is why I've started with the tumbled glass, because it's a nice light colour and it's very easy to fade out to white. If you have the ink blending brushes that are very popular at the moment, that's even easier from what I understand to fade out to white with. I don't have those yet, but you can do a good enough job with the ink blending tools if you have those instead. After I've done the tumbled glass, I'm going to bring in my next colour, which is Mermaid Lagoon. The reason I started with the tumbled glass is that it gives me a nice base colour, and then the darker colours when I add them on top will blend out easier. Again, I'm going to go from that bottom right hand corner with my ink blending tool and blend that Mermaid Lagoon up towards the white. I'm not going as far across as I did with the tumbled glass because I do want that to fade out smoothly. So I'm just keeping it closer to the corner with the Mermaid Lagoon. And once I've added some of that, I'll go back with the tumbled glass across the edge of the Mermaid Lagoon and just help smooth it out a bit more. And I do go over and just extend it a little bit more out towards the white to make sure there's enough space for each of the colours. And then I'm also going to go in with some Stormy Sky, which is an even darker shade of blue, and just add that just to that very bottom corner. I just want to darken it up a little bit, but not add too much colour there. And by keeping it to that corner, I will be able to maintain the smooth transition without having too much of the dark colour there. And I'll again go back on the dividing line with my Mermaid Lagoon ink. And then finally I'll take the tumbled glass again and go back over the edge of the Mermaid Lagoon and bring it back to that white. And keeping the ink blending confined to this bottom third or so will help keep the design very clean and simple. To have a clean and simple card, you want to make sure you're leaving a good amount of white space. And white space doesn't necessarily mean that it is white, it just means it doesn't have any pattern or anything put on top of that space. So basically it's empty space. One of my crafty friends, Micah, actually did a video recently explaining what CAS is, so if you'd like to watch that, I'll link to that in the top right hand corner so you can have a look. After finishing my ink blending, I bought in a stencil. This is the Leafy texture stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and I have used some post-it type tape on the back of the card base to hold the stencil into place over my card base. And then I'm going to add some modeling paste all over this. This is a clear modeling paste. You can use any kind of embossing paste you like for this, and it's just going all over the ink blended area. We're not covering the whole card base, just the area that the ink blending is, so where the tumbled glass fades out to white, we'll have the texture paste effectively fading out as well. So as I said, I'm using a modeling paste which is clear, and it's probably best to use a clear paste whichever you choose, but you might want to use a texture paste or a glitter paste. I did consider mixing glitter into my modeling paste, and I've shown how to do that to make your own glitter paste in a previous video. I'll link to that in the top right hand corner as well. But I thought, as it's a masculine card, some men like glitter, but I thought I'd try and cut the glitter down and not use it on this particular card. And in the end, I don't think it really needed it. So I'm just taking the paste and applying it over the stencil with my palette knife and carefully spreading it out. This is kind of intricate in places, this stencil, so I'm making sure I don't pick it up anywhere because I don't want to smudge the design at all. Once I've finished applying the paste, I carefully peeled up my stencil. I think possibly the paste had started to dry already because it was a very warm day when I was working on this, and in a couple of places some of the ink got pulled up as I was pulling the stencil up, but in the end I don't think it matters too much, so it wasn't too big a deal. But that's just something to bear in mind if you're in a particularly warm or dry environment. So you do want to make sure you remove your stencil immediately. I ran my fingers around the edge of the card base to pick up any of the paste that was hanging over the edges, and then immediately went and washed my stencil, palette knife and craft mat because you do not want the texture paste to dry on those. Once it is dry, it will be extremely difficult to get off, so it's best to wash it off immediately. I then set my panel aside to dry, and as I said, it was quite a warm day and I'd kept my paste quite a thin layer, so it did dry quite quickly. And once the paste was fully dry, I put the card base into my MISTI, and I'm going to add my sentiment from Simon Says Stamps See You Soon, and I'm stamping it with Versafine Onyx black ink. It is possible to stamp over the texture of the texture paste. As I said, I kept it quite a thin layer, which helped, but you will need to press a bit harder. You do risk making a kind of almost double stamped image, which is what happened with mine. It looks a little bit smudged, but not too bad. Another option which I would consider doing next time is to stamp it before putting your texture paste on, but you want to make sure in that case that the texture paste is not going to make your sentiment ink run, because you don't want to be smudging that black all over your lovely ink blended background. Next, I have an image that I'm going to be adding to my card, and I did colour this off screen. This is a digi stamp from Create a Smile, and I coloured it with my Spectrum Noir Illustrator markers and then fussy cut it out. And I'm going to use foam tape to pop it up on my card base. I did consider adding an action wobbler, but I decided I'd just use foam tape this time. So I'll press that firmly into place on the card base, and then I'm going to finish off by adding some Sea Breeze Nuvo drops. And I'm using these to help disguise some of the places where the ink isn't quite right from it being pulled up by the stencil. I started by adding just 3 Nuvo drops. These Nuvo drops are the jewel drops, so they're kind of translucent and they're very pale, so as you can see here, when I did one wrong I was able to very quickly wipe it up with my finger, and because it's such a pale colour it won't leave any mark on the card base, so nobody will be able to tell that you did that wrong. You can actually do this with quite a lot of Nuvo drops if you're quick enough. Just be aware of the colour you are using. If it's a red one, it's more likely to stain. I think that's the case with any red medium. And also, of course, the black ones are more likely to stain unless they're on a black background. But just something to bear in mind, you can wipe them off and even move them carefully if you're quick enough. So once I had finished adding my Nuvo drops, that will complete my card. I hope you enjoyed this video showing how to do a bit of clean and simple mixed media. I don't do a lot of mixed media, but I really enjoyed this one and I hope you did too. Let me know if you do mixed media and what your favourite kind of mixed media is in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, you could press the like button to let me know, or you could press the dislike button if you didn't. All the products I have used are linked in the description box down below, and there's also a link to my accompanying blog post and the challenge if you'd like to come and join in with us. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, you can subscribe by pressing my logo that's showing on screen now, and there are also a couple of other videos showing that you might be interested in if you'd like to see more from me immediately. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!